Hello and welcome back to Cabincast. I guess this is just a Cabincast Rambles Reacts kind of thing. Another trailer. We're a bit late to this one, because Tom's been very busy, but we're here now.
Yes.
A whole bunch of these
Also, I
dropped
am
at
Tom.
once. Tom is also here. Yes, it's true. So yeah, Chris is not joining us because Chris likes to go into these things completely blind.
And also sleepy time.
And it's also sleepy. Yeah, we usually Disney are usually pretty good with both Marvel and Star Wars. They don't tend to spoil huge things in the trailers, so yeah,
Any
don't
big
mind
characters, other than the obvious that we already know are going to be in,
yeah,
probably are not going to show their faces.
indeed. So yeah, this is the
Also,
full official trailer, the longer one.
Quickly before
yeah.
we start this, I just want to say to all you grifters out there who are saying that this is just Star Wars Powerpuffs, how dare you?
Oof.
Both those shows are amazing.
Yeah.
You're comparing a good show to another
To
good
another
show.
good show. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And
Very
just saying
unbelievable.
it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You can just admit that you're sexist. It's okay. We already know.
Yeah, it's kind of the feeling you get. But it should be cool. I didn't even really clock the fact until I hadn't really thought about at all about the fact that it's pretty much female-oriented cast.
They've done it nice and sneaky.
But
And
they've not made a big thing out of it, so
it shouldn't
yeah.
be something that you focus on anyway.
No,
because
it should just be a thing.
It should be the thing for the story, and it is a thing for the story.
So yeah, let's get into this. We'll watch it through once, and then we'll go through and discuss it and dissect it a bit more. But yeah, starting in 3, 2, 1, now.
Nice shuttle.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Ahsoka line, but more different and negative. Oh, rest in peace.
Oh, that scene was amazing.
Hera, Chopper, Amon Mothma. And that was Hu Yang. That's an E-wing.
That is an interesting.
Indeed. And that start Rebels finishes. Like immediately. And that... I saw that from a distance at Celebration. Did not queue for it though. He looks great.
Poggers, Dave Tennant.
The year of David Tennant.
He'd be everywhere.
Good Omens, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Unstaged. And another thing as well that I can't remember the name of, but it's also going to be really good. Very busy.
Oh, this trailer is very exciting for many reasons.
It is.
So, first up, and credit to a couple of, because I may have been a bit naughty and watched a few videos on this.
That's fair.
If the Grifter comment wasn't a flippin' giveaway already. But credit to, I believe, Eckhart Ladder. There we go, got
Yeah.
it. And Star Wars explained both of these, saying that this looks sort of similar to one of the crafts we see in Episode 8 in the Resistance fleet.
Mm.
Little
yeah.
little transport fellow. And obviously we get a ship that I can't decide whether this ship is one of the old Jedi marks of shuttle, or whether
Yeah.
it's related to Director Krennic's shuttle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Either way, it's a cool callback. I don't think it's a new shuttle. It might be, but I don't think it is. And the way it's cut, it implies that this next scene where we have get the name of the characters here, implies that they've snuck their way onto a Republic ship or
Yeah.
facility of some kind. Although it has been suggested, oh yeah, what was in there? That this has just been some creative cutting done here.
Yeah, it could well be.
And these are two separate events.
Balin, I think.
Yeah, it's
Is his
Baden and
name.
I forget what the lady's name is.
Same.
We get a cool hallway scene
Mm-hmm.
with some rebels, well, no longer rebels, New Republic,
Mm-hmm.
getting wrecked.
Indeed. And this is interesting as well because the implication is very much that they were Jedi.
Yeah, that's the way it's going.
And
It gives me very Joruus Sabayoth vibes, which is a
that's a name I
character.
vaguely recognize.
Yes, he's the main Force user antagonist of the Thrawn trilogy.
Ah.
And it would make sense that we'd have someone who would fulfill that role or be looking to fulfill that role.
Mm-hmm.
My suggestion is that we might almost have a parallel order type situation going on here, whether it's just these two or whether there's a larger organization, potentially connections to Ezra there.
Yeah.
Which could be explored and could be very, very interesting.
Mm.
Because if it's Ezra has sort of set this up in the sense of like desperation because he's seen the threats out in the wider galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost sort of being corrupted or twisted by Thrawn to meet his own ends. But then we also see that they don't have connections with Thrawn because they're saying they're going to try and find him.
They're looking for Thrawn. They seem to me more like mercenaries or something like that, and they've been hired by the lady who worked for Thrawn before, and they were trying to find Thrawn. They may have ulterior motives.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where they take this because it could be a situation. Because one of the things that Joruus Sabayoth wanted to do was recreate the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
But obviously, he was batshit, also a clone, and also did not want to recreate the Order in the way it was. He wanted to recreate the Order in a pretty weirdy whack way.
Yeah.
And you get this with his attempts to train Luke in the books, and you get it with his attempts to manipulate the situation so he can get his hands on Leia's twins as well. His whole spiel in the book, and
Yeah.
obviously less likely to be going directly for that because I'm not sure we're going to see Luke in this. We might.
I'm unsure.
We might.
We might see him briefly, but
they do have to keep on getting uses out of that that VFX that they're beginning to perfect now with the
yeah.
that. But if I was to bet, if we're going into a Disney Thrawn trilogy, which it seems like we are, they'll want to hold Luke off from it as much as possible because one of the big draws is Luke does some really cool stuff. And there's a lot of Luke-related stories around that time, and there's a lot of material to explore.
Yep.
How they choose to adapt that, if they choose to adapt that, still all up for debate. Because again, Mark Hamill, while he is an amazing actor, he is also an old actor.
Yeah.
And that comes with certain limitations.
Indeed.
It'd be something that I'd almost be more willing to see them do in animation.
Animated form, yeah.
Because then the sort of, at least the sort of, if you want to adapt the if you want to have sort of like a big combination where all of the series happening in this sort of time period will come together, which is clearly what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
You could almost then do a parallel adaptation of the Thrawn trilogy as well alongside it in an animated form, which would allow you to bring back Princess Leia, bring back Luke, Han with much more ease when compared
Absolutely.
to this. We get a shot of Ahsoka in this temple again. I cannot control the play thing, so you're gonna have to do that.
Which?
Yeah, and then pause it here because this looks like Zepho stuff.
Kinda, yeah. It kinda does.
Which I think we said beforehand when we saw the teaser. Because this was a quick shot you saw of the teaser. It'd be interesting if it is Zepho stuff. Again, we've already had a potential Zepho connection in Bad Batch. It's all interconnected.
The big Walker thing was very Zepho-like.
And it'd be cool if perhaps, I mean, in one of Thrawn's biggest challenges in the original books is he's got a limited fleet, and he's trying to find ways around the overwhelming power that the New Republic has over him. He's finding stuff like the cloning facilities on Wayland, on the Katana fleet, these sort of old, forgotten relics that he's utilizing. It would be interesting to see if he was potentially utilizing Zepho or more ancient tech.
Indeed.
That he's scavenged to provide an edge in his attack on the New Republic.
Indeed.
So that could be an interesting potential possibility here. Wanna play? Oh, there we go.
Heir to the Empire, of course.
Has to be name dropped.
And then we have this place, which is where they are with the lady.
Yeah, this
I wish I could remember her name, but I can't.
Because it implies that there's this weird obelisk structure to be able to find from? Question mark?
So we do know that she's not a Night Sister, but I believe she is descended from a Night Sister. I'm pretty sure we know that. So this could be some kind of old magic Night Sister thing, and she's using it for that. There's a bit of green down the bottom.
There is actually, yeah, you can see that.
So I don't know if that's it, or if it's just like some ancient technology that's like mixed with other stuff.
It's not what I would call traditional. So at least in canon, we have Zepho, few others. Obviously the what are they damn well called? The Ones, or their species, which has a name, but I can't recall it off the top of my head. There are several other lost civilizations which are yet to be brought back into canon, or yet to be brought back in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
And a few of them are in the unknown regions, so maybe stuff like the Rakata could make a bigger return, or maybe it's something else. Or something completely new.
Indeed.
Press the play button, please.
Yeah, big. I mean, it's largely blue, but there's definitely some green on the bottom of that.
There's also the symbols at the start of. So this might have something to do with the worlds between worlds.
Yeah, the lines and dots are very well between worldy, and to be fair, the Ahsoka logo is very well between worldsy.
Yeah.
As well.
That's another thing that could potentially be a motivation for Galen and his apprentice here. If they get into the world between worlds, then they could potentially change the past.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this gets into all sorts of crazy theories, including the ranging from the incredibly cool to the incredibly lame.
Mm-hmm.
We believe we're getting Hayden Christian again.
It's
This show?
almost confirmed that he is in this. Yeah.
It would be incredibly interesting if they use World Between Worlds to do that.
Yeah. It's like that's something that could just be a flashback,
It could, or they could use
or
World.
they could use World Between Worlds, and it could be going back in
We could
time.
have our first instance of time travel in Star Wars. Well, technically Rebels did it first, but still,
Yeah.
it would be an interesting direction for the show to take. For Galen to almost be like, I'm going to use the World Between Worlds to create a universe where the Jedi are reigning supreme over the galaxy, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And that sort of takes the show, and similar to how like the Mandalorian is tangentially related to the Thrawn trilogy at the moment, that tangentially related. They're still looking for Thrawn, still looking for Ezra, but they've got this bigger threat. Or potentially it is just a crazy map that looks somewhat like World Between Worlds, and they're just going after Thrawn. Who knows?
Yeah. Who can say? But yeah, it looks very cool. More of them
Okay,
being
pause here.
menacing.
This is so nice to see.
It's yeah.
Oh, I love the fact that they've actually gone and they've bothered to remodel the old MC-80s. It looks gorgeous.
Mhm.
We got more of those cargo ships.
Yep. Still got a
Slash cruiser
hammerhead.
type. Got a hammerhead.
Must be the last of the 3 hammerheads. No, it looks like there's some more actually.
No,
So
there's two. No, there's more than just
I
three
mean, okay,
hammerheads
did the
in the
Lightmaker
galaxy.
get destroyed?
No, Lightmaker was gone at the end of Scarif. It
'Cause
crashed into the shield.
it crashes it with it. Yeah.
Crew survived though.
Oh, cool.
They abandoned ship and then got probably captured by the Devastator.
Oof.
So I can't vouch for their survival beyond the Battle of Scarif, but they survived the crash at least, I guess. It gets across the sort of demilitarized state that the New Republic has put themselves into.
Yeah.
These ships are now, at the time of Ahsoka, again, it's what, 15 years? No, 5 years since end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And the MC-80s were going from pretty much the earliest parts of the Galactic Civil War. We see one at the rendezvous over Dantooine in Rebels, which would imply it's an old design. All of these ships, with the exception of this cruiser slash cargo ship thing, I really don't know what it is, are old vessels.
Yeah.
Which really gets across how comfortable the New Republic is with its position. And obviously we know not all is right with the New Republic, thanks to the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Which for some reason really irritated a lot of people. But that's accurate to how most rebellions end up. You end up with an imperfect government. And it's something that's really down to earth and really cool and grounded about that section of the Mandalorian.
Yep.
How it's the New Republic's making the same mistakes as the old, and yeah, it's interesting to see, and it's really cool to see a nice in-depth shot of the New Republic fleet here.
Indeed. We've got Hera, which is awesome. I do also know, and Chris does as well, unfortunately, because he's bought the Lego set already, that that we also get Jason.
Poggers.
Because yeah, he's in the set, and I was like, oh, blast. Well, I guess he knows that now, but
Yeah,
that's okay. He doesn't have green hair here, I don't think, but that was a bit of an odd rebelsism. But he may have dyed it. It's true.
Oh, just dyed it.
True. But yeah, we get Hera in the Phantom 2 with Chopper.
This
and then we get a
like
bunch of people.
An ocean planet, which would imply Mon Calamari is or Dak if you want to use the Quarian term,
Hmm.
would be the most obvious one, but it could also be Manan, which would be really interesting. Or there's a potential link to the Bacta War, because in the planet that produces Bacta in the Bacta War is also an ocean world. The Bacta War is cool, but also weird, and there's some things that don't make sense, like the entire production of the healing agent that is used galaxy-wide being isolated to one singular planet.
Yeah.
But hey, that's been a suggestion, as has Mon Calamari and Manan, which are probably the more obvious ones. Camino, no.
No.
No, not going
No.
to be Camino.
That's from people who haven't watched Bad Batch.
Yeah.
We're not going back to Camino
Well, I mean,
anymore.
you never know. You could get back to Camino,
It's
but
true.
no, probably not. Or it could be somewhere new. Or it could be the place they find in Bad Batch, where they eventually settle.
Pabu!
That would be really cool, actually, to see Pabu. Although, why would there be fighting over Pabu?
We don't want that, yeah. We don't want fighting over Pabu.
No
Keep
fighting on
Pabu
Pabu.
safe.
Pabu lives matter.
Indeed. But yeah, we get more Genevieve Riley as Mon Mothma, which is awesome and makes sense.
Yep.
If she's there for something, she should still be around now. So yeah.
Yep. There we go.
I don't know who the other people are yet. I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah.
That Mon Carlo in the background is another person who's in the Lego set, I think. So he might be a character we see a bit more of as well.
I thought he was Akbar.
Oh, maybe. I'm not sure.
Also, I like the implication here that I forget his goddamn name, the droid's name.
Hu
Is
Yang.
just it's Yang. It's just being rebuilt by Ahsoka.
Yeah.
It's really cool to have that duo again.
Mhm. He's great. David Tennant's great. It's not much more to say. It's a cool Jedi ship.
Interested to see how much of Hera we're actually going to see.
Yeah.
Because I get the feeling of Hera that she's still very much in the New Republic military, involved with the sort of clear up and the military side of things. Whereas I mean, we know Zeb is now with the what are they called?
Zeb's off in the
Pathfinders?
Outer Rim doing the Rangers.
Rangers. There we
It's a
go.
Ranger, yeah.
Zeb's a Ranger. Obviously, Speen's still on the fall.
Mhm.
Presumably because there's nothing to go back to for Mandalore.
Yes, this is true because when she last left, there was.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to
See if we deal with that at all.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we deal with that.
Or if going from the end of this, we then get her in whatever we get in either a Mando season 4, or if the next thing we see Mando in is just the crossover.
Yeah, we get this beautiful, beautiful shot, which obviously mirrors the ending of Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to point out that the flight jacket that Hera's got on, which is a new edition, has got the Ghost's insignia on the back of it.
Very nice.
Which is very cool.
Yep. Pause it. Nah. It's
here.
Here. Yeah. It's cool to see, and we're going to talk about Lothal because there's a few things to talk about Lothal.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's recovered, which is nice
Yep.
to see. Two, we got a lovely city, which we saw from Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably the influence of the absolute mad lady and all-around psychopath Governor Price is now gone.
Yep.
But I also like how in later scenes it's implied that Lothal is still a center for the development of experimental fighters.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because we get E-wings.
E-wings. We do. So
everywhere else we see X-wings.
X-wings, yeah.
Which implies to me that they've XCOM set up on Lothal, which would be really cool if that is just a thing.
That would make some sense. So we get this shot here, which is reminiscent of the end of Rebels. Sabina's long hair, which he will cut, so it could just be a slight change, or
Yeah.
it could be that this is longer ago.
Mhm.
We'll find out.
Maybe after the destruction of.
But yeah, E-wing, and we get some talk of Anakin.
Yeah, again, lots of teasing of Anakin with this. It's going to be another chance for Hayden Christensen to stretch his acting legs. What we got from
Yeah.
him in Obi-Wan was amazing.
Amazing, but it was very much
Very,
Vader,
very
apart from that one
contained.
scene as Anakin. So
It was
if we do
very,
get to
very
see
contained.
him
That.
with Ahsoka, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, it would also really begin to knit the thing back in together and once again stop the grifters from being grifters. And I mean, have you
I
heard
mean,
the
like,
most recent arguments about this? Like literally, they're going, it is cartoon character. Why is she this important? You stupid idiot! Do
oh
you
dear.
not do if you? These are the same people who were shouting the Clone Wars' praises from the rooftop when they were complaining about Rebels,
Yep.
Resistance,
Yep.
the sequel trilogy,
Yep.
Forces of Power.
Mhm.
The list can go on, and it will go Obi-Wan. These are
Yeah.
the same people who will go, oh, they should do stuff like Clone Wars, do stuff like Clone Wars, and they bring Clone Wars character. No, it is a cartoon character. We don't want this in our Star Wars.
Yep. It's annoying. It's like I don't know that there'd be reason to repeat the scene, but they could very much repeat the final time that they see each other.
It would be very nice if they did that.
Like, assumedly we'd have Rosario Dawson, Ewan McGregor, and Hayden Christensen all there at the same time, so you could repeat the final moments that we have with Anakin and Ahsoka.
To be fair, I do understand the criticism in regards to because it's a show about a character who is primarily cartoon based. Not every Star Wars fan watches
Mhm.
Clone Wars and that type of stuff. You should if you're a Star Wars fan. Even if you're
Yeah.
an older Star Wars fan, I guarantee you'll like them.
Yeah.
Even
I mean,
Resistance has its moments.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think if you've seen the Clone Wars, yes, this is all going to hit a lot harder.
Yeah.
I think
So-
what they laid the groundwork for in Mandalorian was enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see though what level of explanation they give to it and how they sort of contextualize it and how
Yeah.
many flashbacks we're going to get.
Exactly.
Are we
Absolutely.
even going to get any flashbacks? Are we going to have world between world shenanigans going on?
Exactly. Let's keep going.
Yep.
Because Anakin didn't get to finish it because she walked away, and she walked away from Sabine.
That
So-
might be a BB-8 thing.
It might
yeah.
be BB-8 droid, yeah.
Or it might be in Legends. The E-wing had a specialist astromech droid designed for it.
It did. That was the issue with it, wasn't it? Was that they had
one
to
of
have
the issues
specialist
with it.
astromechs, and yeah, one of them. Right.
The other one was the avionics were so complex that they had a tendency to sort of fizzle out and fail.
Mm.
So they needed purpose-built droids, and they needed extremely complex avionics that were prone to breaking down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until the later periods of Legends that they got figured out.
Yeah. So it's also worth noting that Sabine still has long hair here. So these scenes we're seeing at the moment, in theory at least, happen before the final scene of Rebels,
Yes.
which is very interesting. It might just be a few hours and then she goes and chops her hair and then she comes back, or it could be weeks, months.
Yeah, we don't know
year
how
or
much
two.
they've cut through this.
We
And
don't
again,
know how much.
we get the mention of Master, which implies
Yeah.
this is interesting. I've heard a lot of takes on this. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, she's force sensitive."
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people complain, "Oh, this is more force sensitive, more focused on Jedi." Excuse me, have you read the title of the show?
It's Ahsoka.
Um,
She made her call herself a Jedi. she is.
basically a Jedi.
She's like the Jedi.
And I've had people who've suggested that she's not force sensitive, or at least very force sensitive, and
Mhm.
she's sort of training because, again, the Mandalorians have gone out. They're scattered. Most of them probably extinct. Most of her family's probably dead.
Oh yeah, I haven't even thought about that.
So she might be thinking, well, okay, well, I'll go and do. Who do I have connections with now? Well, I have Ezra, who was a Jedi.
Mhm.
I know how to use a lightsaber, so I'll see if I can be that.
Yeah, and
It's a
this is interesting because
we
we
do
do
have a
see her.
scene.
We do see her training with the darksaber,
Hmm.
and it is definitely heavy.
Hmm.
However, she does defeat Gar Saxon with it,
Hmm.
and is the heavy thing particular also to the darksaber and
Well, it was
Mandalorians?
also more to the sort of the sense that she's fighting against the blade in that scene as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Not
like obviously
using it
that
properly.
that applies with Din as well because it's heavy for Din because Din is not
If you
destined to
if you
rule Mandalore.
if you don't know how to utilize a lightsaber,
Hmm.
it just in general will feel heavy
Yeah,
because it's you have to. There's a reason why the forms are the way they are.
yeah,
And it's the reason why the Sith forms and the Jedi forms are basically exactly the same. They work.
hmm
And it's also why lightsabers are more, are more a force sensitive thing because
yeah,
that compensates for it a bit more. So it's going to
exactly.
be interesting to see whether it's just a case of she is force sensitive, but she hasn't got the force senses, or if she's not very force sensitive, but she is enough, or whether whether Ahsoka's literally training her just despite non-force sensitivity.
Or if she just means master in a more general sense.
That's also true, yeah.
But the fact that she compares it to Anakin as well, and also the thing to me is that in the final episodes of Rebels, spoilers for Rebels, obviously,
Mhm.
all the messages that Ezra gives, it's to Sabine,
Yes.
and I know that they had kind of a connection, but like Zeb and him were like brothers by the end. Hera was essentially like his foster mother. Obviously, Kanan was gone now, but
Mm.
was there
Well,
more to that?
Ezra's
Was there potentially the fact that he sensed maybe that there was more that Sabine could be?
maybe, yeah. I mean, that's possible.
Um,
I mean, we also have, in general, I mean, throughout Rebels, there's that sort of weird tension thing going on with them throughout the entirety.
it was early Rebels especially. I feel like Kanan says something as well, but he kind of just says something to everyone when he says goodbye.
Yeah.
And Bendu also notices her.
Mhm.
We do get one scene where she's, struggling with the darksaber, and she like kicks the rock, but she kicks Bendu, and it could just be because she kicked him, or it could just be a fun. Oh, Bendu's still around, but he only seems to appear when Force stuff is going on, and then he'll disappear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's lots of very little things.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. But if it is
Yeah.
a case of a straight up training, then it
Hmm.
represents another part of Anakin continuing on.
Yeah.
Because in the Jedi Order, obviously, you can't have children. So the main way of passing down your knowledge is by training an apprentice. You get Padawan
Hmm.
lineages,
Hmm.
um, which leads to some pretty funny wiggity whack situations where
Yeah.
Anakin's grand master is Qui-Gon, his great grandmaster is Count Dooku, and his great great grandmaster is Yoda.
Yeah.
Um, so that lineage like travels down. It also it's an interesting example of continuation.
Yeah.
Um, and that might be part of the reason why Ahsoka struggles with training Sabine.
Hmm.
She might sort of think to herself, well, I'm training her using the methods that Anakin used, but Anakin fell to the dark side.
Yeah.
What if there's something just fundamentally wrong with how Anakin was training it? These are the sort of questions that plagued Obi-Wan. Was it something that I did? Did I train him incorrectly? It'd be very interesting to see that sort of side of this.
Indeed. But moving on.
Yeah, we get the Ezra thing.
This is Ezra and it does look like him. As well as you could get his strange Playmobil head in live action. And this looks like it's his tower that he used to stay in.
It is his tower that he used to stay in. But Sabine has Sabinified it.
Yeah. The words he says though aren't quite the same.
No.
So is it just a slight change, or is it that he sent her an extra one, or made extra messages for all the crew? That will be interesting to see. But yeah, cool. Lots of details there, which we're not going to go through all of. But yeah, that's the shot for Into Rebels.
Yeah, love how they use the same Rebel sort of style. Makes it sort of almost like a story that Sabine is told. Again, credit to Eckhart Ladder there.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've got this mysterious Inquisitor again.
Inquisitizel, or at the very least, some guy who's got Inquisitor's lightsaber and seems decent at using it.
There's so many little theories regarding that Inquisitor. He's an agent for Thrawn. He's potentially on a revenge mission against Ahsoka because she did kind of help wipe out that order.
Yep.
She prolific Inquisitor killer. In canon. I said killed maybe one, but she's also been involved in the deaths of a lot of others.
She killed one for sure, because we saw that.
Yeah.
And then 2 or potentially 3, depending on if you think the guy who fell from the sky died or not.
I think it's pretty clear that it's not the same guy anymore.
It doesn't quite seem like it is. It did when the shots we got last time, but I don't think this time his hands are not different.
Yeah. I mean, if it is, then it's a retcon. But whatever. It's interesting, and then there's also theories suggesting that this is one of the other 2 that we've seen earlier, just dressed up as an Inquisitor, pretending to be one. It will be interesting to see where they go with that. Clicking play. I can't click play.
I know.
Free.
That's
again the Rebels' art style. It's such a intelligent decision.
Yeah. There's Ezra and Kanan and the Lost Cat. Oh, it's so cool. Gun! Turret.
Zillo Beast. Caught you off guard there, didn't I? I don't think it is, but it could be.
I just saw some kind of big rock, but no, you're right, it moves and that's like a mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a Purgle, maybe.
Potentially either a Purgle or a Zillo Beast or something interesting.
That's the kind of Republic uniform, New Republic uniform that Ahsoka's got on there.
Oh, there's the big man himself.
There he is.
He looks very good.
He looks good. Like, does he look like Thrawn from Rebels? Not really, but he's not a realistic face at all. It was a great face, but
does
it's very
TIE
slender.
Fighters and Stormtroopers in Rebels look like TIE Fighters and Stormtroopers in live action?
Yes, they do, but
no, they don't.
Yeah, not in the same way. I mean, but Thrawn less so, because at least with those it's a ship and armor.
Yes.
You can only go so far with a real face, but it looks good.
They want animating them using real characters.
Well, that's what I mean. So it looks great, and the main thing with Thrawn is his voice, and his voice will be the same. So that's all good.
Great. I love the little coy, like play arounds they did with that as well.
Yeah.
Then we get the information darkness.
Yeah.
Will fall, I believe.
Also, handness hand up is
Hmm?
could be like no stop, or could be force things.
Yeah.
She's still got a Padawan braid because she's, I guess, a Padawan of him
Yeah.
still. So those shoulder plates you have do kind of look like they're Inquisitors.
Yeah. And this is really interesting
Mm.
because he's around the age
Mm-hmm.
that he would be probably a bit older than Anakin, but around the
Yeah.
same age that he would have been a knight.
Yeah.
So this leads to many speculations, like maybe we're getting another Order 66
Flashback.
flashback. That would be fun.
Mhm.
But
And like, I'm sure that'll bug some people that it's like, oh, great, it's another Jedi who survived. But like, there were thousands of them.
every
And
time that someone says something like, "Oh, there's another Jedi that survived," it just ruins the Great Purge. I have to look at Legends. Look at See how many Jedi survived in Legends. There's a list. It's long.
it's not
It's
even
longer than
specific
canon.
to canon. And it's also like there were thousands. Not all of them had clones with them. And then the Inquisitors dealt with some of them after. And
Actual
also,
legitimate Jedi survivors in canon, off the
Mhm.
top of the head, okay? You could technically count Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Mhm.
You could technically count Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
That's it. Because everyone else ceased being a Jedi, pretty much.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, because Kanan comes back to it, but for
And
a long time he's not a Jedi.
before you go and say, "Oh well, but the comics," I don't care. Like,
Yep.
Disney has overridden the comics so many times, they are not canon.
They are all over the
They,
place.
they are to be taken as implications of what happened, not what happened. If
Mhm.
you're looking at actual Jedi, I suppose you could probably throw Kanan in the mix. But again, Kanan goes off and does other things. He gives
Yeah.
up. He
Yeah.
stops being a Jedi. Ahsoka can't be counted because she's not a Jedi. She says every time
She
we
is
meet,
not a
"I'm no
Jedi.
Jedi." And even like Anakin, like some people are, well, Anakin survived. Yeah, Anakin survived. Sure, he's a Sith Lord.
Mhm. And then like Seer is still a Jedi in the end. But again, cut herself off from the Force because she
Yeah,
embraced the dark side briefly, so that doesn't count. And there's potentially a couple others out there that I'm not going to mention because spoilers. Taron
actual
Malicos was
legitimate
on
Jedi
freaking Dathomir, and
who,
no,
who
yeah, legitimate
remained
Jedi, very few.
who remained true to the course. You can only actually count Yoda. Even by that standard, you can discount Cal because again, he gives up.
Yeah, I mean,
You
you
can
could
only
even
count
discount
Yoda.
Obi-Wan at the start. It's
Yeah,
only
but
by the
also
end of the show he's kind of regained his faith.
yeah.
I know that's
So
a bit more like no, but still, yeah,
we're talking about the embers and ashes of the Order,
yeah,
whereas in flipping Legends, you just got Jedi running all over the place in the flipping after Purge era. Like Darth Vader was incredibly busy during that period hunting down Jedi, and he might be incredibly busy during that time period in canon. But again, the only evidence we have of that are comics, and as I've previously stated, you can't trust the comics.
yep,
So
yep,
there might have been basically no Jedi left, and what few Jedi were there gave up.
mhm,
They disbanded.
yep,
There was no one who was truly because to be a true Jedi would require you to stand against the Empire
yeah,
because that's where the moral codes would bring you, and
mhm,
that's not possible
no,
on your own. Like so, you can understand why so many people got disheartened and were like, "Nah, we're done."
yep,
And again, we're talking about if you count total Jedi survivors in total, and you exclude Vader and the Inquisitors, because again,
mhm,
don't count,
mhm,
you're talking about like 30, 40 at most
yeah,
currently in canon. And that's including background characters, implications from Fallen Order, where Trilla says that she has a couple of Padawans with her.
mhm,
Um, and adding a few extras to assume that there's some additional survivors out there, and we haven't just seen all the survivors.
Yeah.
You are talking about a very small amount of people.
Mhm.
Whereas again, in Legends, you're talking about upwards of 1,000 to 2,000 survivors. Still
Yeah.
very small amount for an order that was, tens of thousands, but a lot more.
A whole lot more, yeah.
I mean, Kukruk alone had like a group of around 50 younglings on a random planet somewhere. This is like, what?
Yeah. So anyway,
Not a legitimate criticism of canon.
indeed. Moving on, they're at this place again, and yeah, he says Anakin spoke highly of you. And they're blowing up something. And Hu Yang's there again,
Yep.
which is awesome. And it
Hera,
looks like Hera's coming along for a ride.
yeah, but I think that's cut creatively.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you're
Because Hera's off on the left, which fair isn't the correct position for the pilot of the Ghost,
right. No, it's not.
but it
Is
looks
it?
like
No,
the
it's not.
Ghost
Wait,
in that
no, it
shot
might be.
to me.
Yeah, no, it is because Sabine's always on the left and Hera's on the right.
Okay, then
So
it
it
is
could
the
be the
correct
Ghost.
position, and
Yeah.
it looks like the Ghost. So I think that's the Ghost, whereas I think this next shot is very clearly in. You got Huang there. It's clear in Ahsoka's ship.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Speaking of
There we go.
Inquisitors killing, it looks like Ahsoka's going to add one to the tally.
Almost certainly, yes. Yeah, but there we go. Very exciting.
The other possibility, which I don't think anyone's really mentioned, Knights of Ren.
True. Yeah.
And it would be really interesting if there was a link between what we see with the Knights of Ren, admittedly very weakly in 9, and the Inquisitorius.
Yeah.
Because they are sort of similar.
Mm-hmm.
One's a bit more culty. But a very, very interesting trailer.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very interesting.
It's one that's got me very excited for where it leads.
Indeed.
Because they could choose to go full in and make this like the start of the Thrawn story. It might still be skirting around that.
Mm-hmm.
It might just be, like Thrawn is back by the end of it. Like, a really cool idea that I've heard some people talking about is potentially they have all this, adventures, whether they do what they do, and at the very end of it, you have Thrawn actually return to the galaxy, and you have almost sort of like not a one-to-one creation, but an homage to the beginning of Heir to the Empire, where Thrawn engages a small New Republic fleet and basically trounces it.
Yeah.
It could be like that big,
Indeed.
oh no, Thrawn's back, and then next season in The Mandalorian, it starts picking up there, and it would be it's really got me
There's definitely
excited.
ways it would work very well. Yeah.
And
Indeed.
there's so many questions as well. How are they going to work Anakin into the story? How are they going to work Luke into the story?
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to work the politics of the New Republic and how the New Republic was portrayed in the Mandalorian into it?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see an unwillingness from the New Republic to accept that there's an Imperial threat? I mean, we know that they immediately go back on it if they do, because they assume once again it's destroyed afterwards, which leads to First Order.
Yep.
How
we will
interconnected
see.
is the First Order with the Imperial Remnant? How in contact is it with Thrawn? Because we know that they were in contact with the Imperial Remnant, at least to the extent that they were sending Praetorian guards.
Yeah.
Out and about. Which is another thing. What the hell is a Praetorian guard?
Mm-hmm.
Where did they come from? Where are they going? And are they named Cotton-Eye Joe?
Indeed. And on that, for some reason, we'll leave this here. So, yeah, in a bit more, just over a month or probably just over by the time we release this till it comes out. Got to get through the rest of Rebels with Chris. But yeah, looking forward to it. So thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cabincast. For more episodes, go to www.cabincast.podbean.com or use the Podbean app. You can now also find us on iTunes and Pocket Casts under Cabincast and on YouTube. There are uploads there archived behind. Finally, you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Cabincast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.